Hello, welcome to Paleo Greenbird. I'm Greenbird, and today's video is going to be a flint knapping video, and we're going to be reducing this piece of Flintridge. This is a piece of gray Flintridge. It does have some lines running through it, and we're going to try and reduce this down to a good size preform. I had an individual ask me about reducing larger rocks down to, I guess, like bifacial or preform stages. This rock is already kind of flat, so maybe not the best example, but when you showed me pictures of your point, what I noticed is that you're struggling with what we all struggle with when we first start. It's the nemesis of all flint knappers, and that is getting flakes to drive, preferably at least halfway across the rock. That way you get that flake pattern, that scar pattern. It is very windy today, so I apologize for that. So one of the first ways to accomplish that is to have a proper platform. I always want to hit low platforms. You probably already know that. And well, that does depend a little bit upon the tools that you're using and the stone that you're working. You need to give this Flintridge a nice rough grind. And I don't really have any good platforms except for this one right here, so that's what I'm going to take. Hopefully it leaves me with something else. But if you look at that, you can see how that dips down. Okay, I always want to hit on the low side. Now I'm going to use my medium-sized bopper. Okay, so I'm putting it against my leg. Dave 10 Bears, this will be good for you too, because I was watching one of your videos and I noticed how you were using the bopper, and I think that maybe we're both doing the same thing. I'm trying to translate the way I nap into using your tool, and you're trying to translate the way you nap into the tool I sent you, and but you might have better luck if you nap off the leg instead of freehand like a hammerstone. Copper just doesn't, in my opinion, at the thick stage, it doesn't really work well off the hand until you get down to a preform stage. So anyway, I don't know, maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, let me know. So I'm going to support it on my leg. I'm not pushing it because that'll give me a short termination. I need to let that flake do what it wants to do, but I also have to support it. Otherwise I'm going to get end shock, it's just going to break into a million pieces. So now that I talked a bunch of smack, let's see if I can actually get a flake. I've got a little one. Not as big as I wanted, but that's okay. I'm going to fix this platform here a little bit. There we go. So I just built myself a little platform right there, which I am going to grind and take. A lot of loose stuff on there, but I can get rid of that with my grinder. I was kind of aggressive with building that platform. It's one of the reasons I don't like to build platforms. See, now when I take that flake, I've got another high ridge right here. I don't know. Took a flake off, left me with another platform. Tried to zoom the camera in, so I don't know if I zoomed it in too much. Every once in a while I'll give a look up, make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. So to drive those flakes in, Eli, I'm hitting down, but I'm also putting a little bit of inward pressure. Because what you're doing is you're creating inward force and then the downward pressure to pluck that flake off. Think of it as you're trying to like pressure. It's just like pressure flaking. It's just you're using percussion to do the same thing. Alright, that was a bad strike. Not doing so hot today, I guess. It's because I'm trying to talk like I know what I'm doing. Most of the flake is on the ground, but there's the rest of it. So see how that's flattening that out? It's leaving me with more platforms. I always want to kind of rotate the rock and look and see, flattening out somewhere. Am I creating really big thick spots in other places? Because those will just be that much more difficult to take off later when the rest of it's thin. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to address this thick square edge. There's a couple ways I could do that. If I didn't mind losing material, I could zigzag it. Probably zigzag this side first and then come over and zigzag this. But I'm going to try and be brave, and I'm going to try and use this flat edge here as a platform and drive a flake down through that thick fat part. See how it works out. Now when you do something like this, when you get such a thick platform, you are really running the risk of a hinge, of a short termination. So you kind of want to practice with that, trial and error, before you try it. And even then, you know, I might get a short termination. We'll see. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of force so that it drives that flake. And read your rock a little bit. So I have that platform right here, but look how it dips down, then it dips back up again, right there. Chances are that flake is going to terminate kind of short right there, and I'm going to have to come back. Luckily, I've got a platform on the other side to even that out. So maybe if I didn't have that other platform on the other side, I wouldn't even take this flake. Let's see. Make sure I'm taking the right flake here, all this jibber jabbering. Yeah. There we go. There. So I did get a hinge. See, this is the flake that came off. It stopped even sooner than I thought. Probably a bad strike. But I still have a ridge right here next to it. If I can get a good flake there, it'll help feather this out a little bit. It'll help repair the damage. And that's why, like I said, when you're taking out strikes off of these flat edges, I don't know, you might be better off just zigzagging or coming back to it later. Sometimes I just get impatient. There we go, that sounded better. Let's see if I can clean it up a little bit. Oh, this is just looking ugly. I'm going to stop talking and just clean this rock up. So I put some pretty severe defects into it, as you can see. It's a bad idea to try and take that flat edge off. That's a nice flake. Maybe an arrowhead. See how it's leaving those big ridges? It's not really feathering everything off. You see that? Because the platforms that I'm taking are a little too aggressive. So what I'm actually doing is, even though I'm thinning this, I'm just fixing mistake after mistake. So not great advice for you to follow. Mill it down. There we go. Another nice flake. And the reason I billed it down is so that I could get a better aim. The platform was really small. It's not always about the weight of your bopper. Sometimes it is, though. Just depends. It's more about that angle. If you can get that good angle and that combination of down and in, and there's just really no way to explain that. You just have to feel it. You'll see when you get crushed edges like I just did, you'll know that your angle of attack was wrong. I'm actually going to switch over to this other side. Take some better platforms. I'm going to hit this edge right here. Try and drive it kind of at an angle that direction to follow that ridge. see how that flake feathered off? Yeah, that flake feathered off a lot better. There's no step or anything like that. I'm sorry. Used the camera being the other direction. That flake just came right off. And feathered in nicely. It's because it was an actual platform. I wasn't trying to cheat. Come over this way a little bit. So let's try and do that again. But that's okay. When you get those bad strikes or you choose a bad platform, you learn from it, and you can fix it. Hopefully. But usually you can. So I'm looking for opportunistic areas to build me a platform. And I found one right here. It's going to take off that thick spot, hopefully. Start flattening this out. Might grind that just a little bit more. Depending upon the stone you're using and the grade of it, quality of it, you might need less or more grinding on the platform. Flintridge tends to like a lot of grinding. Especially for whatever reason, this gray stuff, even though it's really glassy, it naps a little bit differently than the other peach stuff that I have. Which incidentally naps differently than the nethers that I have. I kind of thought that was going to happen. Some damage on my platform, so this one has to be good. There we go. Take it. At least it cleaned up the junk. Left me with another platform right here. See how we're starting, even though this started off flat, we're still flattening it out more than it was. So I'm just looking for those platforms every time I see one and it makes sense. I'm going to take it. There we go. So we still have kind of like this boogery thing in the middle, but this is so thick, that'll go away. That's just a reminder that I was impatient and shouldn't have taken that flat edge as a platform. So as we get thinner, you want to keep an eye on your center line, or what will be your center line. I think I'm going to trim this up a little bit. So I have that low edge right there. That looks like a platform, but it's not. If you flip it over, there's really no ridge for that to follow. It looks like there is a ridge, but look how high up off the rock it is. It really is. This rock is flat. This ridge is higher than the rest of the rock. That's going to trick you into thinking it's a platform, but it's not. And again, this is specifically designed for a buddy of mine who's just learning how to nap. So if this is too boring or telling you stuff you already know, then I apologize for that. Alright, so this tip has got some thick stuff on there, but I'm not going to fall for the same thing as last. I'm going to zigzag this a little bit just to give myself some real platforms. I'm not worried if I lose a little bit of length. The same thing when you're zigzagging. Look for areas where it almost looks like a platform. Now I'm supporting both sides. It doesn't look like it, but I am. Sometimes I cheat a little, and you can get your end support on this side with your ring finger instead of pushing it up against your palm. Let's go back to the pad. Still just zigzagging here. I'm not trying to run long flakes. But I want to make sure I zigzag real delicately because I don't want to take big chips off like I did right there, or I'm just going to have to zigzag it again and start over. Not going to fool with it. I'm just going to bring that center line back up a little bit at the expense of a little bit of length. Alright. So now this side's still thick. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and shoot a platform off this direction here so that I can start thinking about maybe taking care of that huge step that I created earlier. There's my platform. It's not ground very well, but I wanted to show it to you. It's a little bit higher than what I would normally like, but I'm going to take it because I'm not looking to drive a super long flake right now anyway. Just trying to get rid of that edge that's flared down. Now I'm going to finish zigzagging it. There's probably a better way to do this. Zigzagging the whole thing. Now, one thing I will tell you, this is a good example, is you never want to work into a step unless you really, truly believe that you can undercut it, because it'll always terminate right at that step. See how there's a platform right there? Hopefully you can see that. I could take that, but I'd have to hit it. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This is the platform right here. This one right here. I could try and take that this direction. Camera's upside down today for some reason, but if I can't undercut that step right there with that platform, it's just going to stall out. That being said, now I kind of want to try it. Real sturdy platform, and you're going to have to hit it like you're mad at it. That's a little bit low. We'll see, but I just want to try it. But this is risky. Yeah. So we'll come back to that, get it from a different direction. But I'm pretty well zigzagged. This side over here is a little thicker, so I'm going to drive some flakes in that direction. It was sunny earlier today, but suddenly it's a little cloudy. Looks like it's going to rain. Alright, so where's my platform here? I'm trying to find a platform that has a ridge on the other side of it. Or something that I know will take away mass. Let's take this one here. As you can see, I've set up sort of a continuous platform. See how wavy it is? Alright, there we go. Almost reached to the 5. Not quite. But it's nice and smooth. So I'm taking off nice thinning flakes. So you can see, even though I haven't had 100% success with every strike I'm taking, if you just follow your intuition, you can recover. Again, almost to the 5. Just can't quite reach that 5. Get it from this direction. Same thing, just looking for those low platforms. That sounded good. So that's a little birdie. Down and in. See, I was hoping to get a little bit further over to take care of that hinge, but try it from every direction I can until I get it. Also important to note, you want to work the ends a little bit more than the middle. If you keep the middle thicker than the ends, that will severely, or greatly rather, reduce your chances of end shock. Keep that in mind. This is just going to be a short flake, I think, but I'll take it anyway. Actually, I'll take this one first. Crushed my platform. I was tempted to try it again, but with Flintridge, you want to take the time, just make your platforms. There we go. Took off most of that 5. So I hope that shows how, you can come in from both sides and just reduce that stone little by little by little. It's just, it sounds cliche and it sounds, like it doesn't really help much to hear it, but it is literally, it's just flake by flake. Every flake, most of which you want to run at least halfway across. I'm trying to address that hinge, but I don't have a good platform to undercut it. You know what? I'm going to try something here. Just for giggles. I'm going to try and take my pressure pad. And first, I'm just going to try and push that off with my pressure flaker. And then I'm going to try something else after that. It doesn't work. You can't always do this. But this one was kind of flaky looking. I could tell it wasn't a hinge, it was more like a step. It just terminated short, ran out of juice kind of slowly, whereas usually a hinge runs out of juice relatively immediately. I don't know if that makes any sense. I have a video, hinges and steps. Believe it or not, there is a difference. Right, so look at that. That cleaned that up a little bit. Now, I was going to try and punch that out, but I'm going to stick to percussion. Since that works so well. I drop back down to my smaller bopper. Platform. Let's toughen that up. Now it's kind of high. kind of need to take that because it's going to leave me with my next platform. I'm going to change the plans here real quick, which happens a lot in flint knapping. You have to be able to adjust. I see some other platforms that can do some good thinning. See, there's a nice long flake. This flake. Now this one is going to run right directly down, right here, right down directly into that hinge. So I'm going to hit it with a little bit of extra force because I want to try and undercut that hinge. Even though, see, look how the platform is a little bit higher than the hinge is. It's high enough to where I don't have to, it's actually easier when it's higher because you don't have to undercut quite as much. If that makes any sense at all. Even if I don't get this entire hinge off, it'll feather off a good portion of it. You know, I guess higher is subjective as far as the way you're looking at it. I mean, it's not, the smiley part isn't so low that it's below the point where I need to take the hinge off. There we go. Look at that. That hinge is almost gone now. Hinge is almost gone. We're getting flatter. We turn the 5 into a 1 somehow. Pretty cool. Now, I'm making sure that I'm not getting thick and thin spots, because that will also contribute to end shock. I want to kind of start to think about what my shape is going to be like. I'm going to nap off the hand a little bit right here. Napping off the hand is sort of, I guess, kind of like using a hammerstone. Only with a hammerstone, sometimes you can just knock off of it, you know, freehand like that. With copper, I find that you still want to give it some good support. Keep in mind my shape here. More thickness over on this side. You can tell, excuse me, allergies. You can tell that this side needs to, excuse me, needs to come in. So, no big deal. I'll just work it next. I'm not even going to try and bring it in. I'm just going to thin it on this side. And that will just happen automatically. I'm not going to show every single platform. I got a visitor. There we go. Put on my finger. That's the thing about napping off the hand. If you're napping hard off the hand, you could end up donating a little bit of blood. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. Shaping and taking my opportunistic platforms. Still supporting both the tip and the base as I'm holding it. It's almost automatic. You just want to just get to the point where that's just the way you hold the stone, no matter what you're doing. It's a good habit to learn. It doesn't work all the time. You still break them, but okay, going back to the pad. sometimes when I'm on the pad, when I'm getting thin like this, I'll change my angle just a little bit. Not as much angle this way, is more a little bit flat, because that more downward pressure, you know, it doesn't put as much inward pressure on the point. Not as likely to break it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, today, because I'm actually trying to talk like I know what I'm doing, I'm running into a lot of problems. But that's all right. Okay. Some smaller flakes. Trimming. Bring this edge in a little bit. So I brought that edge in a little bit. You can see it's starting to get a little bit more symmetrical, and it left me with some good platforms. Alright, so you can see we almost got rid of all of the marker that's on there. There's just a little tiny bit. Not critical. I did that because I wanted you to see. It's hard to see with this stone, but I wanted to see that these flakes are going all the way across. And that is how you turn a big stone, a thick stone, into a thin stone. Before you even use the pressure flaker. If I don't have a platform, I'll do some shaping. That usually creates one. I see it's thicker over on this side. This side here is thicker than this side. I got some platforms, so let's address it now. Always want to pay attention to that, because you can get caught up in one area, one side. You can chase a step all day long, or a hinge all day long, and the next thing you know, you've got the weirdest looking point ever. You can just tell the difference. You can hear the difference. You get a nice long running flake. Yeah, listen to that. Still shaping. Kind of being a little lazy on my grinding right now. Don't do that. You see, I'm always brushing my pad off. It's because sometimes if you get junk, well, it's also so I don't get cut. But sometimes if you have junk under there, it'll affect your flake travel. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. It's true. So, see, I'm speeding up the process here a little bit. And we're just going to bring this down to a biface. We're not going to finish it for a couple of reasons. One, I have to get inside. My nose is running. Allergies are acting up. And two, I just feel like making some more. I feel like doing some more percussion. I'm going to make some more preforms. So what I'm trying to do is I still have a thick spot right here on the bass, on this side. You can see that, compared to that. So I could fix it later, but since we're doing it now, let's just fix it now. Supporting the tip, the bass. And sometimes, like when I say supporting the tip and the bass, sometimes you can only support the tip and then like an ear. You know, but then give it a little bit of love over there, or make sure it's got enough contact with the pad that as much surface area is touching without smashing against the pad, because that could break it too, and it'll stop your flake from traveling. Ooh, that didn't sound good at all. That was a terrible, terrible strike. Hear how crunchy that sounded? I don't know if you can hear it over this hurricane winds. There we go. I think one more. Bad platform. I'm going to stop before I break it. Still kind of a bad platform. Platform's a little bit high. There we go. Like I said, I'm kind of rushing. I probably should have just fixed that platform, but I did get a good thinning flake off of it, so got lucky. Finish this up before I break it. Sometimes when you're trimming up those edges, platforms just pop out at you. They just appear. We're getting this to be pretty thin at this point. I mean, for a biface, for a preform, rather. Some people might stop right here and start pressure flaking this. And notice that some people was, you know, me at one point. And I have found that you can take a point so much thinner than you think just using percussion. You might have to change the way you use the percussion. Instead of off the leg, maybe switch up to napping off your finger. Tip's a little bit thick, so I'll give that a little bit of love. Trying to get rained on. I hit that a little bit hard because I wanted to get rid of the rest of that step, and we pretty much did. Just a little bit left. I could probably flake that off again with the pressure flaker, but it's still thick enough to where we'll have more percussion work to undercut that. I'm not worried about it. keep the middle a little bit thicker for now than the rest. Took some horizontal flakes off the tip to thin it out. Some might argue that damages your flake pattern, but we still have plenty of time to get that back. All right, Eli, so I hope that this helped you. We took that piece of Flintridge. Look how thin we got it. This is preform stage. This is by no means what you're going to get from an arrowhead. Come show it a little bit closer. So this is our kind of our flake pattern. We took off that number, even though it was pretty flat. I think maybe starting with a flat stone might have even been a little bit easier, or not easier, but better to demonstrate, because it's harder to take long flakes off of a stone that already has a little bit of a flatness to it. And most of the stone that's in your area is probably going to have that flatness to it anyway. So I hope you and others enjoyed. Please share, please like, please subscribe, and most importantly, please have an awesome day. Paleo Greenbird, signing out.